Captured former Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro has spent his first night in U.S. custody. Maduro is seen here walking into the New York detention center yesterday following his arrest. He and his wife face charges including narco-terrorism conspiracy, cocaine importation, and weapons charges. It follows their arrest Saturday in a series of U.S. military strikes. President Trump says the U.S. will now run Venezuela until a proper transition of power can be worked out. What's unclear is what will happen to Venezuela's rich oil reserves. In an interview with ABC's This Week, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said any new Venezuelan regime must benefit both their country and the United States.
Unfortunately, the person that was there before, who was not the legitimate president of the country, was someone we could not work with. Was someone that we could not. He had already suckered the Biden administration a couple of years ago on a deal he didn't keep, and this is someone we simply couldn't work with. We are hopeful that there are people in place now. We're going to find out. The proof will be in what they do or fail to do, that will start making some of these changes that will ultimately lead to a Venezuela that looks substantially and dramatically different from what's been in place for 15 years.
We're getting a look at the aftermath of the strikes on Venezuela. The attacks hit several military complexes and an airport. Power was knocked out. In total, the attack lasted about half an hour. Venezuela's vice president says there were civilian and military casualties, but did not say how many. Prime Minister Mark Carney releasing a statement which reads in part, in keeping with our long-standing commitment to upholding the rule of law, sovereignty, and human rights, Canada calls on all parties to respect international law. We stand by the Venezuelan people's sovereign right to decide and build their own future in a peaceful and democratic society. Canada attaches great importance to resolution of crises through multilateral engagement and is in close contact with international partners about ongoing developments. And for more on Canada's response, we're joined by former Foreign Affairs Minister Peter MacKay. Peter, it's great to have you on today. We appreciate your time.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Well, first off, what is your interpretation of Mark Carney's response to the situation in Venezuela? We did get that statement about 15 hours after the initial attack.
Well, I think that's you've made the first point, and that is that it was very late, and I would also suggest it was somewhat tepid, and in keeping with sort of a wait and see approach, where this very historic movement away from the totalitarian regime that was Nicolas Maduro happened, quite quickly. I wouldn't say completely unexpectedly, given the strikes that were happening on narco-terrorist boats off the coast of Venezuela. But the Canadian response was almost as if they wanted to see what other countries were going to say first. And yes, all of the right buzzwords about respecting international law and supporting the Venezuelan people, and yet no mention whatsoever about how this came about. You can't really applaud the result, which is going to hopefully bring about a democratic response within Venezuela, and make no mention of the circumstances in which it evolved.
And do you think Canada might change their response in the days and weeks to come, as you mentioned, as other countries begin to react more?
Well, I understand the Prime Minister is off to Europe to have a meeting with regard to the situation in Ukraine, the illegal Russian invasion in Ukraine. I think it's very telling, just as an aside, that Iran, Russia, China, the classic BRIC countries, or what are sometimes referred to as the CRINCs, were very quick to condemn the United States for what occurred, probably feeling internal pressure themselves. Certainly they are in Iran currently. Will Canada change its position? Not likely. I don't see them as leaning in on this situation. And I'm sure there is some trepidation on the part of the Carney administration, given that we continue to have a very volatile situation vis-a-vis the trade relations with the United States and what this means for our own economy.
Well, Trump has made it clear that the U.S. is running Venezuela, at least during this transition period. What do you think that transition period could look like, and if Canada could possibly play any role in that?
Well, hopefully the transition won't take a great deal of time. The volatility, the fog of this incident is going to create a lot of ripple effects. The return of potential leaders like Edmundo Gonzalez, Maria Corina Machado, others who may emerge to help bring about a democratic transition. The president and Marco Rubio, his Secretary of State, has said that the United States will essentially provide a caretaker government. There is obviously huge implications on the energy sector, not only for our adversaries, but potentially even for Canada. And there should be an impetus for Canada to now move quickly towards being able to export energy to not just the United States, but other countries as well. But what Canada's role may be in the future remains to be seen. I think we have certainly consistently been a longstanding supporter of the Venezuelan people and obviously want to see them emerge from decades of the oppression that have been brought about by Maduro and Chavez before him. Socialism has been the biggest failure of the 20th century. And we are seeing these dictators now start to fall, either by the people internally, hopefully what we'll see in Iran, or a push, which is what we saw in the last few days.
Absolutely. Well, Foreign Affairs Minister Peter MacKay, thanks so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you.